I don't know if you guys can see, but the shirt I have on, it says "Beat It" in honor of Michael Jackson because I'm filming this on the anniversary of his passing. Oh my gosh, yo, you guys, Michael Jackson is like everything, especially if you were a kid of the 80s or 90s. Hey, even the 70s and 60s, Michael ruled all those eras, okay? So RIP to Mike the King. Hey, what's up guys? This is your Cosmic Homegirl, and today I'm going to be talking about Mars retrograde in Aquarius. So on June 26, 2018, Mars, the planet of anger and action and how you initiate things and get things done, level of aggression, how anger and aggression are expressed, is in the sign of Aquarius. And it's going to go retrograde, which means it's going backwards, or it's given the illusion of going backwards, but I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So Mars is in the sign of Aquarius. It actually entered the sign of Aquarius in May of 2018, May 16, 2018 to be exact. And what's interesting is that same day, Uranus, the ruling planet of Aquarius, shifted signs. Aquarius energy, it rules standing up for the underdog. It rules all of the people in the world who are the weirdos, who are the outcasts, the rebels. Rebelling against things is Aquarius, like the system and things that are set up for us that make us average people. Aquarius is like all against that, you know what I mean? Like it's all bad for Aquarians if they have to participate in anything that makes them fit inside of a little box. It's about originality, creativity in a very unique way. That's Aquarian energy. So Mars has been there. When you pair the two energies together, what do you get? Well, we have seen, and I know, there's always people protesting. There's always things happening that reach the masses and everything. And Aquarius does rule reaching the masses in a big way. We have seen a couple of incidents in the news and pop culture and entertainment that have moved the masses in some kind of way that made them go in an outrage, you know what I mean? Like maybe not always protesting, but doing things now with social media and technology, which Aquarius also rules those, which are like boycotting, dragging people on the internet. There's been a lot of stuff like that, but I mean like things that are super major, okay, like really major. But anyway, with Mars being in Aquarius, I will go through every sign and let you guys know how this Mars retrograde will affect you. When Mars is moving forward, this is us charging ahead. You know, Mars is symbolized by a circle with an arrow pointing. So that arrow is usually like pointing exactly at what it wants, charging full speed ahead, and hopefully not letting anybody or anything get in its way. And it's also how we handle anger and how we display it, and you know, how we go after things and after people if they piss us off, you know, that's also Mars. So in Aquarius, that means more attacks like on social media, the internet, or gathering masses of people together in order to attack one person or one problem or one issue, you know, that people feel like should be all of our problem, okay? So if you have seen in the media lately, yes, there have been things happening like that, especially in the month of June 2018. And one of the reasons why is because Mars in Aquarius has been squaring off, okay, making a square angle to Uranus, its ruling planet, in Taurus since it entered Aquarius. Right away they started squaring off. And Uranus also rules things like the internet and reaching the masses and everything. Taurus can rule, well, not necessarily entertainment, but kind of sort of, you know, because it can rule creativity, like arts, especially arts that have to do with using your voice. It rules the neck area. I will name a couple of things that have happened recently that we can see through Mars and Aquarius, okay? Now, we just had a shooting of a well-known rapper, XXXTentacion, okay? And where was he shot? In the neck, all right? And didn't this cause a big outrage amongst lots of fans? And you know, his passing was also shown on social media. Like people captured him like in his vehicle and posted it everywhere. And what does Uranus and Aquarius rule? The internet, okay? Social media. And also, he was an Aquarius himself. There's a lot I can say about that whole incident. I'm not gonna make this whole video about that incident, but he had a stellium of planets in Aquarius. He was very Aquarian. And so he did reach a lot of the masses, and people did riot. They gathered together as masses of people for one common reason, which was mourning the passing of this Aquarian individual. Okay, so that's one thing. And also, there was a young man who was murdered as a result of mistaken identity in the Bronx. Okay, and what did they do? They stabbed him, but they got him in the neck too. From what I read, that was the final blow that really led to his demise, was getting stabbed with a machete in the neck area. Okay, and Taurus rules the neck. Okay, those are just two instances that have like rocked the internet, took the internet by storm, you know, went viral. And Uranus and Aquarius rule going viral. More on that soon in another video.
Another crazy example of Mars retrograde in Aquarius that we've seen on social media is the whole disaster that happened with TanaCon. So Tana Mongeau is a YouTuber that has over 3 million subscribers. She organized an event that was at a convention center that was only able to hold a certain amount of people, but thousands and thousands of people showed up. They were standing outside in line. They were in the heat all day, and then the event eventually got canceled. People were demanding refunds. You know, luckily this didn't end up in any rioting or anything like that, but it was still pretty disastrous. It's a prime example of gathering large masses of people together and then things go wrong, and then the arrow of Mars is turned back around and pointed at the person that was the organizer and the gatherer of masses of people. So it was pretty crazy, and this is definitely an example of this Mars retrograde in Aquarius. Mars was in shadow period and slowing down on the date that this happened, which was around June 22nd, 2018, I believe. But still, it's preparing to go retrograde, so there you go.
But getting back to this Mars and Aquarius though, because of this, you know, people have been in outrages and uproars, you know what I'm saying? And now with Mars, that was Mars moving forward, right? And then slowing down and coming to a standstill. When Mars slows down, prepares to go retrograde, it's sitting very heavily. It's not moving and spinning like it usually is. So the energy is much more intense. That's why we had all this intense stuff happening the week before Mars goes retrograde. Hopefully there's not any more. However, retro, what does that mean? Retrograde, it means going back. So any actions that have been performed that have been unjust in any kind of way, that even means to you, to everybody out there too, you know, our actions can be karmically brought back to you in some kind of way during a retrograde of Mars, the planet of action. Okay, so let's take a closer look at Mars being retrograde. Now Mars is reaching the 9th degree of Aquarius, and it's actually going to retrograde back to 28 degrees of Capricorn. Then it's going to go direct in Capricorn and go back into Aquarius and keep it moving, you know, through the sign. But it's going to cover the ground that it already covered previously as far as the degrees. So whatever we have been doing as far as putting effort and action and maybe even some anger and aggression forward in May and in June 2018, there could be repercussions. There could be people turning that Mars arrow that you had pointed at everybody. It could be turned around and pointed back at you, you know. But usually that happens only if the actions were unjust, okay? Like if they were unfair, because remember, this is Aquarius, which fights for the underdog. So if another person is the underdog, you've been like picking on somebody or something, you know, your actions have been like a little like unfair or just really not cool at all, especially during May and June. Just be mindful of the fact that they can all come back to you from June, July, and August. In August of 2018 is when Mars will go back into Capricorn. So the exact date is August 12th of 2018, which is very interesting because the day before that, on August 11th, we have an eclipse in the opposing sign of Aquarius, which is Leo. So that's also something to think about. However, this is when Mars goes back into Capricorn, right? And then August 27th of 2018 is when it moves direct again. And this is going to be at 28 degrees of Capricorn. So wherever Capricorn is in your natal chart, or if you are a Capricorn and you have like planets around the 28th, 29th degree, or if you were born like in the last few days of Capricorn season, Mars is going to come after you again, okay? It's going to give you like power to just charge after whatever you want. But it's more of an internal thing. It can be like you feel like irritated about something, and it's more like internalized. It's not really like outwardly expressed. Then when Mars goes forward again, this can be when you take the action, okay? Once again, it moves direct on August 27th of 2018, and then September 10th, 2018 is when it goes back into Aquarius. So this is when it'll be moving forward, treading the grounds of Aquarius once again. And anything that happened, you know, back in May, like mid-May until the end of June, is going to be covered again in September. Actually, October the 8th, 2018 is when Mars in Aquarius is moving forward, and it goes back to that 9th degree of Aquarius where it was sitting at when it went retrograde, when it was stationing retrograde and everything. So whatever is going on right now, when it's about to go retro, is what can be readdressed in October. Wherever Aquarius is in your own natal chart, whatever part of life that is activated, you know, right now, what's going on right now, okay? It'll be addressed again later in October. So here are some key aspects and the dates that the aspects are going to be happening around that Mars in Aquarius is going to be making while it's retrograde. So pretty much from May 2018 until October 2018 is Mars squaring Uranus, the ruling planet of Aquarius. What Uranus rules is things that can happen all of a sudden, like you don't expect it to happen. And Mars, since it's action and aggressive energy, there could be like, you know, don't get scared now, but I'm just being honest as your cosmic weather reporter. There could be more like sudden accidents happening, some sudden violence or something that causes an uproar while this square is happening. So we are dealing with that even when Mars is retrograde. In June 2018, it's going to be making an opposition to Venus in Leo. Now, this is mostly around mid to late June, like around June 14th until like the last day of June, like June 30th, you know. So the Venus and Mars opposition, it can cause a little bit of friction between the masculine and the feminine, or views that are masculine and views that are more feminine. Masculine doesn't have to mean necessarily a biological male. It can mean things that are ruled by masculine energy, like sports or anything very action oriented, or on a negative side, like views that are very misogynistic, you know what I'm saying? And then it's opposing Venus, which rules things like beauty and art and music and, you know, everything that is pleasant in the world. But, you know, as far as things that we humans do, it could be like money, shopping, making yourself look gorgeous, you know. There could be a little bit of a conflict between some of those things with each other. Feminine views on things versus masculine views on things. Speaking of that, when the opposition was super tight, like around June 21st, did any of you guys see that Vlad TV interview with Amber Rose and some older dude? I don't even know who he is, but people were saying he's like Uncle Ruckus in the comments under the video, which had me cracking up. But he had some very old school masculine views on the feminine, and Amber Rose went to the defense of the feminine. And Amber Rose is a Libra, by the way, so Libra is ruled by Venus, so, you know, good choice there, I would say. So she was kind of like going against all of his like old school ideals about, well, women should do this and men don't compete with women. And, you know, it was just a very interesting interview. Maybe I'll link it down below if you guys want me to, but go check it out on Vlad TV. It was like so freaking interesting. A good prime example of Venus and Mars opposing each other. Mars in Aquarius is also going to be in a conjunction with the South Node, which is it's not a planet or anything. It's a point that's calculated based on the moon, and it's very karmic in nature. It can rule past lives. It can rule returning back to somewhere or something from the past. And with this being a retrograde, you know, the last time that Mars in Aquarius was conjunct the South Node, but it was moving direct, it was June 8th of 2018, okay? And then the next time it'll conjunct the South Node, it's retrograde, and it's around July 20th, 2018. And then again, September 26th, 2018, it's moving direct, conjunct the South Node. Now the South Node is kind of like, it's described as like excreting things, and I know that sounds nasty for you guys that know what excrete really means, but it's like a getting rid of something, you know what I'm saying? So this Mars conjunction, that's exactly what could be happening, but it could be even like on a global level or amongst the masses. There's something masculine that could be harsh or unjust that we're trying to get rid of around this time. And maybe there could be more like protest or people standing up for this or for that, or you know, really aggressive things going on with that. So it's going to repeat itself. So around June 8th, and then July 20th, and then September 26th, you know, just look at those dates, look at what's going on around you, look at the news, and then, you know, see if there's any repeated patterns that come up. Now, most importantly, Mars retrograde in Aquarius is going to conjunct an eclipse. And I know people lose their minds when they hear about eclipses, like dun dun dun, oh my god, we're all gonna die, our lives are over. So whatever planet is in a conjunction with an eclipse, now remember the effects of eclipses, they really make a big impact on you. You know what I'm saying? Like they can cause really huge life changes to happen. So wherever the Aquarius eclipse is at, side note, I do have eclipse reading specials, okay, on my website, which I will drop below. So if you want a personalized eclipse horoscope, you want to know how this eclipse in Aquarius conjunct Mars, and it's a full moon eclipse, you want to know what's going to go on in your life based on it, you know, personally, then hit me up for a reading. I have a special going on right now through the end of the summer, okay? But anyhow, July 27th, there's an eclipse at 4 degrees Aquarius, and it's a full moon eclipse, a lunar one, so it's super emotional and powerful and strong. Then added to the mix is Mars. Mars, you know, is going to be also at the 4th degree of Aquarius, poking at the moon, agitating the moon. So this could be an eclipse that does bring like a really big change in your life, but it can be as a result of like some kind of significant action that has to be taken, you know, like fighting for something that you really believe in but other people don't, or fighting to be your true unique self, or, you know, it all depends. But I will go through every sign for the Mars retrograde, and that eclipse applies, you know, on a surface level to the same thing. But an eclipse conjunct Mars, oh my gosh, I kind of worry about what would be going on globally and like in the news. I try to stay away from the news because I'm a very sensitive Pisces moon, and I will just break down and want to save everyone and save the whole world, and I can't. But pay attention to what is going on in the media that's affecting masses of people or reaching masses of people as far as news around this eclipse in July. Because Mars is involved, I think it's going to be bringing something, some major things, you know. But don't forget that the effects of eclipses last for up to 6 months. You can also see the effects of them about a month before. I just really hope there's nothing crazy like any like terrorist stuff going on at that time, because you know, when 9/11 happened here in the US, there was a conjunction between the South Node and Mars, and the South Node and Mars will conjunct even around this eclipse too. I would say just to be careful, you guys, be safe. I think I may have spoken about this in my 2018 overall forecast, you know, for the whole year. I may have touched on that a little bit, so go check out that video if you haven't. But yeah, this Mars retrograde is going to be a part of this eclipse, so there could be some really karmic things that are coming. You know, the eclipses, they open portals. So there could be something that karmically like comes back to you, and it could be something that you don't really like, or is including anger or something that's directed at you or that you direct at someone else. But on the positive side, it could be actions that need to be taken. Things have been stagnant for a minute, you know what I'm saying? But like now it's like things are just internalized, you know, with Mars retro. Sometimes retro can mean things are more internal than manifesting external. And so maybe there's something internalized. It's just, you know, full moons are even times where things are like, I can't take this anymore, you know, like things have been brewing and brewing and brewing, and then the moon is so bright in the sky, and it's like, you know, at this crazy point that you finally just, you know, just let it all go, just figure out what needs to be done, you know. And it could be in a very emotional way, and Mars is a part of this. So it could be bringing something up to the surface, something that needs to be done that's been hanging around for a while. But one thing I will say about Mars retrograde, just in general, just very general advice, is Do not be the aggressor in I'm not saying to be a little punk B, you know what I'm saying? And like just sit there and let people walk all over you. I'm saying in any kind of way that is unfair, or you are fighting against someone and it's like there's not really a logical reason, because Aquarius is a very logical sign. It takes like J. Cole is an Aquarius, and he even said he takes an aerial point of view on things. That was a perfect Aquarius saying right there, because that's exactly what they do. They rise above a situation, they extract all their emotions and all personal, anything type of feelings from it. Then they dissect things like a scientist and look at all angles of things, you know? So it's a very intelligent sign. So when this eclipse comes, and even, you know, Mars retrograde in general, don't just charge after people for no reason or for something that's very illogical, that doesn't make sense. And also, because Aquarian energy is very humanitarian, be careful with who you stick your neck out for. You know that old saying, you stick your neck out? And especially because Uranus is squaring this in Taurus, which rules the neck. So literally, be careful who you stand up for, who you step in and take a stand for and everything, because sometimes we can do that for friends, which Aquarius rules, or communities, which Aquarius rules. And it can fire back at us, at you as an individual, and you are the only one that ends up getting in trouble. And other people that you're protecting, they're fine, but you take a hit for them. So be very careful of situations like that. You know, if anybody is in any trouble, of course, like I'm not saying just to stand there and let them suffer, but just be cautious, you know, of what you jump into to stand up and say things, and, you know, with things that can go viral, because it can really be fired back at you. Just look at the situation with Roseanne, okay? Like, she said some really inappropriate things. Now Mars is slowing down, it's preparing to go retrograde, it's in its shadow period, and she's like over here crying about what she said, because now she's rethinking her actions. You know, now they're being fired back at her big time, because they're going to continue that show on, like a spin-off of it, without her. So, and I think Roseanne's an Aquarius rising. So Aquarians especially, you guys are like quick to like say things with a megaphone out there into the world on social media, and you're quick to step in for people who you feel don't have a voice, but just make sure it's for the right reasons though. Okay, Aquarians and everybody else definitely do that. You know, I have the South Node in Aquarius in my natal chart, and right now the transiting South Node is like almost exactly conjuncted. So I'm having a lot of past life things, which I am going to do a separate video on my past life, because it's really interesting stuff. So many more revelations are coming to light since I'm having this return of it, you know? And so I'm figuring out that was a really big Aquarian lesson for me in past lives, is be careful who you stick your neck out for. Be careful who you stand up for, because you can end up taking the heat for a situation, and it's not even always for a good cause, or, you know, the effects of it can be, you can get killed, you can spend time in prison, you can have a lot of your life snatched away. Meanwhile, everybody you're standing up for, they're doing good, and then you can kind of be a little bit regretful of it. You know what I'm saying? So just take my advice as a South Node Aquarian on this one. Okay guys, so I'm going to get into every sign and let you know where Mars retrograde is happening for you, and where you kind of have to watch your actions, and maybe think about some things to make sure that things are not boomeranged back at you. Okay, because retrogrades can be just that. You throw something out there and you're like, oh yeah, it's gone. Yeah, okay, I said what I said, I did what I did, and then bam, here comes a boomerang, like right in your forehead. All right, for Aries people, Mars retrograde in Aquarius, this is in your 11th house, which is the house of friends and the people that you network with. In regular plain English, this could be, yeah, groups of friends. This could be people that you have a common interest with, like any type of group you belong to, whether it's on Facebook or on Instagram, or if you belong to like a club or something like that. That's all Aquarius energy. That's all 11th house stuff too. So when it comes to also social media, that's what is 11th house too. Having some kind of a platform to speak on and everybody hears you. That's what this Mars retrograde is going to be affecting for you. And also the whole standing up for the underdog thing, that applies to you as well. So Aries people, just by nature, this is your ruling planet, Mars, okay? And it's going backwards. So you in general, especially, there could be a lot of things that are brought back to you karmically that you have to rethink. A lot of action-oriented things. Could be if you've expressed your anger in some kind of way that was like really hurtful, really harmful, you know, like over the last couple of months. Well, that can come back to haunt you. You know what I'm saying? It can come back to you in some kind of way that is to show you the proper way to take action, and not like in like a whoa, you know, wild type of a way without even really thinking. You are one of the number one signs that I would say, watch who you stick your neck out for. Watch who you stand up for, fight for, you know, because it could be that maybe somebody comes to you, for example, like a friend, and they're like, oh my gosh, you know, somebody's picking on me, right? And then you as an Aries, you know, you get your muscle up. You know what I'm saying? I'm not buff anymore, but I'm trying to pretend. But you get that muscle up and you're just like, okay. So you just go up to the person, bam, you just take action. You don't even think about it. Then it turns out, oh, guess what? Your friend was actually in the wrong. Your friend provoked somebody to pick on them. And now here you are in trouble, Aries. Okay, so just that's just an example. Like, just watch out for things like that. If somebody wants you to be the aggressor and stand up for them, make sure you check all the facts. Make sure you check the background of the situation before you just like full speed ahead, you know. Sometimes retrogrades in an 11th house can bring friends back from the past. Maybe it can bring issues regarding friends back from the past. Like if you had any friendships that were severed, you know, for some reason you guys didn't get along anymore, you broke things off as friends, there could be past things that come back. If you had a fight with a friend in the past, in the recent past, and you were the person in the wrong, well, there could be, you know, they can come back and charge back at you in some kind of way, possibly, you know, bring things back up. Oh, you thought you got away with this. Wrong. For some Aries people, you may feel like life is going in slow motion in general, you know, because this is your ruling planet and it's going backwards. So it doesn't matter where in your life. Yeah, the 11th house is super highlighted, but in any area of life, you can feel like it's moving slow and you're treading through like the bottom half of your body is underwater, like muddy water at that, right? And you're trying to run through it, you know, and you're not really getting anywhere, and it's frustrating because maybe you need to slow down. Maybe you need to slow your actions down and really take a look at them first before actually doing that. And I know Aries, you're probably like, that's not what Aries does, okay? We're asking way too much of us. Stop and think before we act? How dare you? But this is only a temporary time period and it could possibly do you some good. For Taurus people, Mars retrograde is going to be in your 10th house, which is your career, your public image, the way the public sees you, your status, you know, but mostly career, okay? If you've been doing anything in your career, Taurus, that like, okay, I know some Tauruses that have had public battles with people involving their career. And if you have had that happen, like people have attacked you publicly, the way that you handled it when it was happening, if it did happen to you, like in May or June, if you handled it like in a way that is not cool, okay? If you were just like, rawr, you know, being messy, dragging people, exposing people or whatever, and it was unfairly done, well then when a Mars retrograde happens up there, those people, they can come back at you 10 times worse than they did before. So just be careful with that. Be careful with anybody. If anyone tries to attack you publicly, I'm not saying to stand there, Taurus. I'm not saying to stand for it, to take it. But what you need to do is make sure that it's a smart move, okay? Aquarius energy is very intelligent, once again, and it's about smart chess moves, you know? So you need to be strategic in the way that you come back to defend yourself or to let people know that this is wrong what this person is doing or saying if that happens to you. Also, when it comes to career, if you don't deal with any any like public stuff or anything, Tauruses, maybe this is a time to look within about what you have been doing as far as actions taking towards success in your career. Rethinking, reorganizing, revamping things is really good to do. Like, do you need to revamp your image, your website, your whole business, you know, or if you work for a corporation, maybe you need to rethink your relationships with higher ups, because Mars in the 10th house in general, it can mean resisting authority. It can mean charging back against, like if bosses are like, hey, Taurus, don't do this. You could be like, excuse you? Who are you to tell me what to do? You know? And if you have behaved like that in the last couple of months, that could come back to you too. And maybe not in a great way. And maybe it's like you, if nobody's really doing anything towards you, Taurus, it could be like you yourself rethinking that stuff. Like, oh snap, I was kind of snappy with an authority figure, with a boss or somebody, you know, above me. And now it's like, I'm thinking, is this why I'm not really doing so well in my career? Or can it affect me later? What do I have to do to correct this? Maybe I should reach out to them and not be like, rah, you know, but be like apologetic, like, hey, I'm sorry if I came off blah, 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 but this, that, or the other. So it can affect that area. And this can go with parental figures too. Like if you're a Taurus and you're young, or you're still like under your parents' home, you know, under their rule for some reason, maybe you could have been a little snappy towards them in the last couple months, but now it's like those actions can come back on you in a negative way. And even if it's not them coming back to you, like, excuse you, Taurus, it could be like you yourself rethinking it, like, oh wow, maybe I shouldn't have acted like that towards my parents, you know, let me go and apologize, let me try to make things right. That's the proper way to handle this. For Gemini, Mars retrograde in Aquarius is in your 9th house. So this is the house of traveling, like going long distance places, going on voyages, going on adventures. So with you guys, I would just say to be careful traveling. Just be careful traveling. If you guys have planned a trip, you know, and now it's like, okay, you know, it's the time for it to happen over the next couple of months. There could be some things that you have to redo, that you have to rethink about doing. You have to rearrange things. But also, you know, the 9th house is about expressing your opinions, like being highly opinionated and super blunt and like loud about your opinions. So there could be some of those things that you've expressed over the last couple months, and maybe it wasn't in a very nice way, you know, and now it's like there could be things that come up that make you rethink that expression of those very strong opinions. Also, the 9th house is said to rule education. Like if you're a Gemini and you're in college, and you know, maybe you've had it out with like some teachers, or maybe they messed up on like your student loans or something like that, or your financial aid, you know, and you've been trying to get that money back. Well, maybe you've been approaching it in a too aggressive of a way, or, you know, maybe your grades were not that great, but you felt like it was unfair. Like, why did I get this grade? You know, I should have done better. And you like, rah, you know, at your teachers. Well, that can come back on you in some kind of way. Or maybe it's a time to rethink, like, okay, let me readdress the situation. Let me strategically plan out my actions. That's the whole theme of Mars retro, strategically planning out your actions and redoing them. Okay, so you may have to take a different approach when it comes to any of those matters that I mentioned, if they apply to you. Even a trip that you want to take, there could be something that has to be thought out a little bit better before you can actually take it. Maybe you have to reschedule things. Maybe people are flaking out and you're like, yo, I don't know what's going on. Now I have to replan everything, but that's cool. You know what I'm saying? It'll still happen, but maybe just in a different way, going to a different place, or like with different people. I'm not saying to not travel at all, Gemini. Maybe if you can help it, save your trips for after Mars goes direct, which is in August. But I'm saying, you know, there could be more of a risk of things not going your way, not going as planned. And to also be very careful, be very safe on your travels, especially if it's somewhere foreign. You know what I'm saying? And if you do go somewhere foreign, be nice to the foreigners, Gemini. Don't make fun of them. Don't clown on them, okay? Don't clown on their language. if they speak something different than you. Be nice, be courteous, you know, because the ninth house can rule foreigners and Mars can rule fights. So Cancer, Mars retrograde is in your 8th house. This could be shared resources. This could be even some of you Cancers could have been going after some money that's owed to you from someone or somewhere. And maybe you've been trying to tackle debts. Like the 8th house can rule your credit, like creditors and stuff. Maybe you've had to battle it out with some of them. And you know, maybe there's something that's on your credit report and it's not right. And you've been like really fighting for it. Now, maybe Mars retrograde is like, take a different approach, Cancer, okay? So you can get that money that's owed to you. And also, this could be with your spouse. If you have a spouse, you guys share your resources and your income together. Maybe there have been a little bit of like fights there or disagreements with how to go along with like how everything should be taken care of and handled financially. Well, now, you know, if you've been like mean about it, Cancer, well, then guess what? Guess what could be boomeranged right back at you? It could just be that you need to take a different approach. You need to re-strategize things. Sit down with your partner, come up with a better plan. How can we tackle these debts? How can we pay off these credit cards, these loans? You know, how can we get our credit back up to par so maybe we can buy a new house, or we can do something that we really want to do, or we can just, you know, be successful together and not have all this debt. Cancers, I know you guys could be very emotional creatures, and the 8th house could be a little bit of a scary place sometimes, just to be honest, because it can rule death. And I don't want you guys to think, oh my god, you're saying we're going to die. No, not necessarily, but you guys can get really in your feelings, really deep in there. You can wallow, you can be stuck. And then the 8th house is a very sensitive, emotional, deeply psychological house, you know, so it could be that you guys have been trying to tackle some inner demons while Mars has been in your 8th house. And when it goes retrograde, maybe there's some things that you've been trying to tackle that you start to feel differently about one way or the other. Maybe you have to re-strategize the way you do that. If you're in therapy, maybe you gotta get a different therapist, you know, or a different form of therapy to help you out with all that emotional stuff. Also, if the intimacy, if you've been working on like intimacy with a partner, or just like, you know, if you have multiple partners, no judgment here, Cancer, okay? But your intimate life, you know, if it hasn't really been going that great, you've been really craving a little something with Mars activating that house, you know, put little sparks up in there. You're not successful with like finding what you want to fulfill that need for like that gratification in an intimate way. Maybe Mars retrograde is like, okay, let me rethink and re-strategize like how I'm going about things to get myself a little something, you know. Or if you have been giving yourself a little too much, Mars retrograde may be showing you some kind of way, hey, maybe you should chill on that, Cancer. You know, maybe you should consider the fact that when you're giving yourself intimately to another, you're giving your mind, body, and soul to them. No matter how you think it's just casual, it could be all of those things. And maybe you need to just chill out and be more cautious of who you're giving all of yourself to in that really deep, intimate way. So Leos, Mars in Aquarius retrograde is going to be in your 7th house, which is your relationships with others. And you know, Mars in the 7th, I'm not gonna lie, it can be a kind of difficult transit to go through, because the 7th house is not only like a romantic relationship, but it's just other people in general. And when Mars is there, pointy little Mars, he's like making you agitated towards others, or others more easily agitated towards you. You know, like you can have like people just coming out of the woodworks wanting to beef with you. One example of this is Drake. Drake is a Leo rising, and while Mars has been in Aquarius, hasn't he had like a really big feud with some rappers, you know, especially Pusha T? That's happened during Mars in the 7th house. And now there could be some things that he's going back, he's going to plot, he's going to strategize and be more internal about things. And then maybe when Mars goes forward again, he'll come back out. Anyway, that's him. The rest of you Leos though, if you have been really easily irritated by other human beings while Mars has been in Aquarius, and you have been mean, you have been unfair, you've been just like attacking people in some kind of way, and just like, oh, well, I'm me and you're you, so like that means that everything should be all on my side, you know? I don't care about you. You're the one in the wrong, not me, okay? But maybe Mars retrograde is going to be some of your actions coming back to you and showing you, you know what, Leo, maybe you were in the wrong. I know, shock. Leo has been wrong. how dare, right? How dare I? No, but maybe it could be showing you like how you need to rethink your approach to an issue with another person or with other people that's come up, you know, recently. And maybe it's just going within and thinking, you know what, I'm not even gonna bother with them. If they say something to me, I'm not gonna clap back right now. I'm just gonna be like, okay, that's fine, that's cool. I'm gonna act like I'm just so unbothered and go about my business, you know, because like I said, when Mars is retrograde, if you are the aggressor a lot of times, then that's when it's like it's so hard for you to tread forward and things can be like a boomerang back at you, you know? So it's best just to chill, okay? Chill as best as you can. Of course, if somebody's really coming after you and you have to fight back, but it's fair for you to do that, okay. But just be very cautious in your actions towards other people. And also when you're in a if you're in a relationship, Leo, then this could be maybe you've gotten into some fights with your partner, maybe you've broken up with them, or it's been just so hard to get along. And if you have been the aggressor of like the fight, you know, the initiator of the arguments or anything like that, well then Mars retrograde could be that stuff coming back to you. Maybe they can come back at you and be like, you know what, Leo, I'm tired of you thinking that you're the shit and that it don't stink and that I'm always in the wrong, and they will give some valid points to you that make you stop and think, oh wow, that kind of is making me think about myself, you know, like maybe I do need to kind of chill out a little bit or be a little bit more fair towards my partner, you know. Or if any situation with you and another person or other people has been unfair, whether it's been romantic or not, then, you know, there could be a fight for the balance. Like you have to really go within yourself and see, what can I do to make things more equal and more balanced in this relationship, and not like more one-sided one way or the other. So Virgo, Mars in Aquarius retrograde is in your 6th house, which is your job and health, all the stuff that Virgo rules. Let's talk about the job first, because Virgos are the sign of service and the worker. Mars in your 6th house, as far as work, oh my gosh, let me tell you, Mars in the 6th, sometimes it can be, people are really irritating and agitating at work. Like extra, like more than usual, because Virgo is a sign that can be easily annoyed, especially with people at work, man. You guys are the number one people that like have all the tea on like what everybody's doing wrong on the job. Now, if you've been messing up at work, or if you have been taking some actions towards people, against people that, you know, like maybe you could have taken a different route or been a little more chill with things, you know, not been so like, then maybe that can come back on you during this Mars retrograde. So I would definitely be careful of what goes on at work. If you've like made a lot of mistakes, you know, over the last like month or two, been a little bit careless at work, a little bit reckless, Mars energy can be kind of reckless, then during the retrogrades, when your bosses can come back and show you like, look, Virgo, you did this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, and it's been over the last couple months, like, oh my gosh, like what's been going on with you, Virgo? Maybe you've been moving over your work a little too quickly and like it's been kind of sloppy for whatever reason, you know, because Mars energy does want to just plow through things and be very quick. So maybe you had that attitude since it's been in Aquarius, and now that's going to come back on you like, look, Virgo, you need to slow down. You need to take a different approach to getting your work done. Maybe you need to come up with a different plan or strategy to tackle through all this work, you know, so that it's not done sloppily, you know what I'm saying? And it could be like bosses and people coming back at you. The 6th house being health, Mars could be a little bit of an agitating, irritating type of an energy, Virgo. So maybe you have had some health irritations, like extra ones bothering you or flaring up over the last month or so. But maybe there is going to be something that comes up that shows you a different way to approach that, you know, different actions you need to take towards bettering your health. Or maybe you've been working out and doing all this stuff, but like it's been a little too much and you need to kind of like slow it down and tone it down. And when Mars is retrograde, maybe it could be a time where you're shown how to do that and why, you know. Maybe you can have even more like something that starts bothering you, like your body starts telling you something like, look, Virgo, you have been eating this type of food that has been irritating us, you know, you've been working out, but it's not been the right workout for your body type. So maybe things will come up that are bothersome, but it's like, oh, okay, wake up call, bing, message, you know, maybe I need to take a different approach to taking care of myself a little bit better, you know, to where it's not irritating to me as a physical being. So for Libra, Mars in Aquarius, retrograde is in your 5th house. Some Libras, maybe you could have been, because this area of life rules romantic relationships and partnerships, you know? So maybe some of you guys could have been like really out there like, woo, you know what I'm saying? Like having a couple of different, like one boo over here, one bae over there, one over here, one over there. But now maybe there could be like a little bit of conflicts that come up, like lovers' quarrels that come up. Maybe your actions, you haven't really been thinking about the other people. And then maybe now things kind of come back on you during a Mars retrograde. Like, okay, this person found out about this person and now they found out about this other person. And like, oh my gosh, now they're all coming after me. Like, all mad. Like what's the deal with that? Or it could just be one person that you've been dealing with, one person you've been like seeing in a romantic way, and you know, it's been kind of casual and flirty and everything. It's been very passionate in some kind of way too, but now it's just like, now they come at you with something that really makes you think, really makes you go within and rethink like how you date, you know, re-strategize your whole dating ways, okay? Or maybe something with a creative project that you have, which the 5th house also rules. Maybe you've been like going and going and going at it, but you've been going at it with like, you know, the wrong approach. And now Mars is retrograde and it's like, okay, time to go within, redo some things with this creative project, re-strategize, rebuild, restructure, something with something that you have been working on, something that you can express your creative talents through. The 5th house is also children. So when Mars transits the 5th house, oh my gosh, let me tell you as a parent, those dang kids, they can really challenge you. They can act up. They can be a little too extra authoritative in their little voices, like they run things around here or something, right? Some kind of issues can come up with your kids when Mars is in your 5th house. Now it's gonna go retrograde. There could be a situation to where maybe they acted up in some kind of way and you approached it like, you know, with discipline, but it could have been done differently. It could have been done better. And now that comes back on you and you're realizing like, oh snap, you know, maybe I should have put in more discipline, or maybe I should have done a little less. You know, it's all up to your situation, but there could be something with the kids that you have to address again, or maybe the kids got into some trouble or fight at school, you know, and you came in like, hey, I'm defending my kid. I don't care who or what, I'm going by what my kid is saying. And maybe you could have like really stood up for them. But maybe now when Mars is retrograde, it turns out, oh snap, you know what? My kid was actually in the wrong and I was over here like thinking it's the other parties. So now it's time to go back and rethink the situation and re-discuss it with your kid. Like, hey, you know, what's the deal with you playing a part in this whole thing happening and acting like you're innocent? Okay. Scorpio, Mars in Aquarius retrograde is happening in your 4th house, which is your home. It is also your family. It's your household. With Mars in the 4th, there could have been some situations that have come up that made family kind of irritate you. Okay, we all have irritating family members, trust me. But maybe there could have been some extra things that have come up. And what has been your approach, Scorpio? Have you been the one that's been like, you know, having a little attitude all over the room, all over the house? And maybe it was like not fair for you to act that way. Well, maybe that can come back on you. I can give you guys another example of what can happen because I'm a Scorpio rising, right? So Mars is retrograde. It's going to go retrograde in my 4th house. I have been battling it out with the stupid HOA. If you live in an area where you don't know what an HOA is, it's homeowners association, okay? Pretty much it's like a group of people that run things in your neighborhood and they tell you what you can and can't do with your house and your property where you live, whatever, okay? So anyway, I've been battling it out with them because they are charging us fees for the neighbors doing something at their house, and they think it's us. Something stupid to do with parking, and they think that it's us at our property. And I've already been battling it out with them since Mars went into Aquarius, okay? And now it's like, will I be having that money returned back to me with a retrograde? I sure hope so. So anything that you've been fighting fairly about with your property or your home or for your family or something, maybe you can have results come back to you when Mars is retrograde. Or if you've been like about it, maybe then they can turn that arrow back on you and be like, oh, okay, well, what about this? What about that? You know, and make it worse, a worse problem than it already was. So I would say when it comes to family, when it comes to your home, just be cautious, okay, with your actions, and not be like too like raw, you know, too aggressive. But also, if some of you Scorpios are moving, because Mars in your 4th house can mean action applied to moving houses. Just be very, very cautious with what you're doing physically to move, because remember, Mars is making a square to Uranus, okay? And that can cause like some sudden like accidents, and especially with things that are involving electrical, because Uranus and Aquarius rule electricity. So be careful with electric things around your house, with appliances. So be careful of any like accidents or injuries that can come to you as a result of this Mars transit. As far as anything that you have to handle with the home, you know, you may have to re-strategize some things, rethink, redo, regroup. Or it could be if you are renovating something around your house, because Mars can be like a bulldozer energy, just wants to knock through walls, you know, just like be very physical and everything. So maybe there's something that you have to really physically redo around your house. Just be very careful and cautious with that too. Sagittarius, the Mars retrograde in Aquarius is going to be in your 3rd house. This can be travel too. This can be driving around your neighborhood, your city, or whatever. Be very, very cautious when doing that, Sagittarius. Please do, because of the square to Uranus, which can cause sudden, unexpected things to happen. And then because of the retrograde action, you know, that can be like some, you know what I've seen during retrogrades? Don't let this scare the crap out of you, but just being real, Sagittarius. That's when some of the weirdest accidents can happen, where like there's like wrong way drivers, or things happening like where cars are flipped the opposite way, you know what I'm saying, because retrograde. So really be careful driving during this time, from now until the end of August. So for the next like 2 months, like exactly 2 months, be very cautious with your driving, Sagittarius. Now when it comes to siblings, okay, because the 3rd house can mean siblings, it can also mean cousins or like extended family members. They have maybe been getting on your nerves, maybe they've done things to agitate you, maybe they picked fights with you or something. And as long as you haven't been the one that's been like unfair, you haven't been the one that's been like just overly aggressive, doing the most, you know, maybe there's nothing that will come back to you. Maybe it could be them coming back to you and apologizing for their actions. Maybe it's you going within and thinking about, okay, well, I have a problem with this family member, but how can I get it resolved? How can I approach it in a way to where we can get over this issue? You know, we have this conflict going on, but like, how can we smash that, and in a very logical, fair way? Okay, so there could be something like that going on for you guys too. Not really too serious of stuff with the 3rd house. I would say the driving is the most serious thing. Please be cautious. The 3rd house is also communication, and with Mars, which can be angry and aggressive transiting through there, some of you Sagittarius could have been very snappity with your words recently. And if that's been true, and it's been in a way that's like really not cool, you shouldn't have said certain things, you've been a little too blunt, well, that can come back boomeranged at you, just letting you know. But it could be in a way that makes you rethink your snappiness with communication, and it could be something that's like karma comes back to you one way or the other with how you speak to people. Capricorn, the Mars in Aquarius retrograde is going to be in your 2nd house, which is your money. Okay, it's your money, it's your resources. Now when Mars is in the 2nd house, you could have been like fighting for some money that you feel like you should have earned. Okay, I've heard of that happening with a couple people. I have a Capricorn very close to me that's been at their job forever and ever and ever. You know, you Caps and your longevity, man, it's no joke. And they feel like they've been well overdue for a raise. So actually, like on the day that Mars goes retrograde, they're going to be speaking to some of the bigwigs at their company finally and letting them know, yo, what's the deal? I've been here forever, I haven't gotten a raise. How is that fair? But as long as this person approaches things strategically and logically, I'm sure they may get that returned back to them in a positive way. If they are way too, you know what I'm saying, like just way too aggressive and too gangster with it, about their money to Big Perm or Debo, you know what I'm saying, then maybe they might not be successful in that quest for a raise at their job. Since Mars' energy can be kind of reckless and the second house can rule your money, some of you Capricorns could have been kind of reckless with your money over the last month or so and just really spending a lot without even looking at your bank account or considering wants versus needs. It's just been like, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this, and you just buy. And then what about your bills and responsibilities, you know? And then now when Mars is retrograde, it could be like, oh wow, you know, taking a closer look at your spending habits and now just like making sure you have a different approach, a different strategy to work out your finances, you know, and to your spending. Like maybe you still feel like supercharged with like wanting to accumulate a lot of material things that you like, but now you need to try to separate the wants versus the needs. So what can you pull back on as far as your spending? How can you be less reckless with it? So you may be going within to do that. There could be something that is boomerang back on you. Maybe there's like bill collectors, you know, that contact you and let you know, hey, you forgot this bill, you skipped out on this payment or that. And you're like, whoa, okay, now let me go back over my finances. Retro's going back, right? And see what I can do to move forward and to make sure everything is paid that's important, but also, you know, spend a little money, okay? Get that, use that charge card, that credit card, you know, and have a little fun, but still be responsible with it. Aquarius, Mars retrograde in Aquarius is going to be in your sign, in your first house of the self, the body, the life path, okay? The first impression that people get of you. So while Mars has been in your sign, you could have been super aggressive, like more than usual, like really angry and putting it out there onto social media, because you guys are usually the kings and queens of social media, Aquarius people. So you could have made some angry rants go viral, okay? You could have been really just charging at people and saying, oh, really? Oh, okay. You think you know this and that? Well, I'm a lot smarter than you and I can prove it. Doing a little too much in that area. If that's the case, when Mars is retrograde, that can come back on you in some kind of way and says, you gonna learn today, Aquarius, okay? Or it could be not even on social media, like in person with people. You could have been more easily agitated, or even when you're walking around chilling, you know, peaceful, and Mars is in your sign, people see you as Mars. They think, oh, you want to fight, Aquarius? Like, what's up, you know? And it's up to you how you take action towards that. So maybe there could have been some instances where that has happened to you. People thought you were this angry person, you're super aggressive, and there were some situations that popped off, and now it's like, okay, now I need to go within and think about how I've been expressing my anger. And this is in your sign, and you guys are really good with going within, thinking about things, rising above your emotions, and figuring things out like a chessboard, or like looking at it like scientifically, you know, and well, if I make this move, then this could happen. And Aquarius is a sign that looks into the future. So you guys could be looking at things like, well, you know what? I wasn't thinking about the future consequences of my actions, but now I will go back and think about them and how to move forward with how I approach things and how I express my anger. Now, with you guys being the rebels and the fighters for the underdogs and everything, be very cautious with who you stick your neck out for once again. Because what if somebody is like, yo, Aquarius, I need you to jump in on this blah, 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 okay, that's going on. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm right there. Mars has got you supercharged to where you just take action without thinking. And usually you're a thinker, but Mars can be kind of reckless and crazy. So what if you've done that and then now it's like, oh, you find out, well, the person I was standing up for, they're actually in the wrong, okay? And I was fighting for them. So now I'm in trouble. I'm telling you, I will tell my South Node Aquarius story. Oh my gosh, it's very interesting stuff. Just don't do it, Aquarius. Like, check all the facts, check the background of everybody, like in the whole situation before you speak on things, before you act on things in an aggressive manner. Make sure it's for a good cause. You guys are all about the causes, and for a good reason and in a logical way that makes sense, okay, and that can still bring peace to situations. Also, Aquarius, be mindful and careful of injuries to yourself and to your body, because Mars is action, it's movement, and it's in your sign, which is the body, and then it's squaring Uranus, which can bring sudden unexpected things. So you're another sign that while this, the square is happening, which is through like October, be careful of accidents, especially in the home, okay? Anything involving electrical stuff, just anything that can suddenly happen out of the blue that can be very harmful physically to you. So Pisces, a little fishy. So Mars in Aquarius retrograde is going to be in your 12th house. This is Pisces territory because you guys are the 12th sign on the wheel. So anything that's like we mentioned that's 12th house in astrology is going to be your home element. So Mars in the 12th for Pisces people, Mars is action and the 12th house is zero action, okay? It's like chilling, floating in your own zone, in bliss, in la la land, okay? And just not even paying attention to the rest of the world and what's going on. It's like being in your own world. So Mars there, it's kind of like slowed your actions down a lot. It's made you feel very drained. Maybe you burnt yourself out too quickly, or maybe you've had no energy at all to do anything at all. The 12th house is said to also be a house of karma, like past karma. So Mars running through there could be having you tackling old karmic issues, and when it goes retrograde, it can really be things coming back to you from the past, and they can be very emotional. Just like Cancer, just like Scorpio, you guys are like a super emotional sign. So all the water signs are having Mars retrograde in their water houses. It could be very emo, you can have the tendency to feel like you want to dwell and wallow and like, oh, in the past this happened to me and poor me and I'm a victim and this, that, and the other. But you know what? When it's retrograde, it's a time to like rethink your actions. It's a time to maybe look at past situations and be like, oh wow, you know what? That could have been handled a lot differently, okay? Like by either me or the other person, or oh, I'm looking at the past from a totally different perspective. Maybe I wasn't such the victim. Maybe my actions were just totally in the wrong. And now what can I do, to move forward eventually and like correct whatever it is that I did in the past, or let go and forgive, which is the 12th house as well. Now, Mars in the 12th is said to be reckless spending as well. Just kind of not even paying attention to the practical world, like how much you actually have on your credit card or in your bank account or your wallet or whatever. And now when it's retrograde, it's like, oh wow, like you could be shown like bills and things coming back to you to prove to you that you need to tone it down a little bit, be a little less reckless when it comes to the spending, okay? All right, so that's it for my Mars and Aquarius retrograde forecast. I just gave a little brief rundown of how it can affect all the signs and us as a collective. There's so much more that I feel like I could have said or emphasized on, but I didn't want to make this video too long. Just want to say, best of luck to everybody. Remember that Mars retro could be like a boomerang. Your actions could be flung back at you. So just really think about them before you perform them. And if you would like a personal reading from me on anything, okay, go to my website, which is indigomoon.astrology.com. Don't forget I have eclipse season specialized readings for everybody. They're personal to you. They're not just a general horoscope. I may still give general eclipse horoscopes on a video in the future, but if you want to know how it affects you based on your birth date, your birth time, if you know it, place of birth, everything, what houses it, angles, what planets, all that stuff in your chart, I can take a very deep look at that and tell you how the next 6 months are going to go. Well, 6 months from the eclipses based on the eclipse events, okay? So hit me up. They're only $25 for the eclipse readings. So hit me up. Once again, it's indigomoon.astrology.com. I would love to read for you. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Take care of yourselves. All right, peace.